Hi there, welcome to Terrorland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Sagittarius energy, and like usual on this channel, we're going to do two rows. The top row I refer to as high vibe Sagittarius, the bottom row a more worldly Sagittarius. We all have our free will and we have to make decisions in our life, so we can be battling within ourselves. Some people can be anyway. In the top row, we might want to do some things in our life differently. But with having to make choices, if we do this, we won't do that, we'd have to maybe quit doing some other things in our life. And the bottom row can just kind of represent our comfort zone. And we all like to stay in our comfort zone because we know how to do that. But some people just might be in the stage of trying to work through some of their fears or insecurities or self-limiting beliefs, which can represent the bottom row, about why they don't move forward in life a little differently. Other people aren't battling within themselves. They're moving forward one way or the other. They're either happy with the way that they're living their life right now, because they're not being called. We all kind of, if we're willing to listen to our intuition and we're happy with the way we're living our life, we're going to keep living our life that way. And while some people are doing that, some other people are moving forward in life a little differently. And then the truth is that some people are more motivated and inspired by truth and love and healing and growing and maturing themselves. And the truth is some people aren't interested in that. They might not want to be just and fair. They might not want to grow up. They might not want to temper themselves or their ego nature or whatever. And they're going to kind of live a more shadowy life. And shadowy Sagittarius can be that, some people are just immature and they got a lot of life lessons to learn, and they have the free will to learn them or not. But if they are kind of indulge their more immature nature, that's probably what they're going to keep doing for a while anyway. Oh, yeah, so let's go look at the bottom row first. Well, the reason for the top row's reading is the Empress energy, which is Libra-Taurus energy. In high vibe, it's about love, justice, fairness, acting with character and integrity, treating other people the way you like to be treated. And sometimes we can come in contact with some people who, in their own way, they could be loving and we could have viewed them as loving, but maybe they think it's shadowy. Libra-Taurus could be that people think it's more just and fair to be kind of rigid, stubborn, kind of bossy, kind of controlling, think they know best and you shouldn't live your own authentic life and listen to your intuition and you should defer to them. And that can be a friend or a family member or a love interest. Otherwise, it can be people who think it's just and fair to align with their more worldly nature, and they're either more just caught up in the world, money, materialism, status, image, or them being indulged more so in a relationship. And we come into contact with people who we could love, and there can be love there, and there can be a lot of things we have in common, and there could be stability or security. It could be a job, it could be a friendship or relationship. And there too, it can just be we're ready to give birth to something new emotionally and kind of step out of our comfort zone to give birth to something new. And some of the other people aren't, and they're going to stay in their comfort zone. So some of them are high vibe people. They're just not ready to step out of their comfort zone. Other people in our life could be more shadowy. The reason for the bottom row's reading is the Tower card. And the Tower card can represent that people aren't willing to detach from something, even though a lot of things could be going on in their life, trying to show them that maybe some of the things that they're involved in aren't just and fair, aren't stable, aren't grounded. It's built on an unstable foundation, because love is a stable foundation to build your life upon. Love for yourself, love for others, treating other people the way you like to be treated, acting with character and integrity. And some people haven't learned to love themselves, so they're in unstable energy. Some people are trying to build foundations with people, but it's not from love, it's for some other reason. And the whole thing is, we kind of get revealed. The truth can be, the tower is trying to reveal the truth to people, that some way that we're living our lives, some way we're thinking or perceiving ourselves or the world or the people we're hanging out with or the job that we're in or whatever it could be, that there's something maybe that's not just and fair about it, or it's not stable, or just that we have learned everything we needed to learn there. At the end of the bottom row, we have the Nine of Pentacles, which, and before that, we had the Page of Wands here. It's kind of becoming more independent of either our more immature nature, our more codependent nature, a phase of life, and we're ready to move forward in life differently, and we realize there was a way of living life and a phase of life I was in, and I've kind of learned everything I needed to learn from that phase of life. And some people in my life might want me to keep, they want to stay in that phase of life, and they want me to stay in that phase of life. And again, it kind of makes me think of parents and children, and where sometimes our children could be adults, but they want us to kind of keep treating them like they're a child and stay in that phase of life. It's like, you're an adult now. That foundational way of being, do I wish you love and encouragement and all that good stuff? Yes. But you need to go give birth to your own life. And then sometimes parents or children tell that to parents, because parents still kind of want them to be like a child. And the child's like, I'm an adult now and I'm kind of going on my own journey. And that can be difficult for everyone. Sometimes people are in the tower can represent a foundation that you're in, whether that's a family or a workplace or an organization. And some people could be more immature with the Three of Cups, the Eight of Cups, and the Page, where maybe they're a little more emotionally manipulative, kind of like to indulge in being in it, but they're really still kind of immature. And that's kind of what makes them happy, and they want other people to keep living life like that. But the 10s and the 9s can be that other people in the situation, have kind of completed a cycle, and they're kind of ready to give birth to something new. And it could be kind of seeing who is willing to move forward and give birth to something new or step out of their comfort zone. The way it can apply, like in a relationship, is if you're in a relationship and you think you're both motivated and inspired to give birth to something new, and then you kind of find out that the other people that you're in a relationship with have other people in their life, or don't want to give up their options. But they could have just other people in their life that they're more codependent on, which can be they're emotionally manipulated by the world. They're more emotionally manipulated by their ego, or their fear, or their codependency, or their insecurity, or their friend group, or their original family or something. Or even if it's a place they want to live and you have to move here and they want to live there, And we could just kind of see the truth that we kind of operate from, again, that someone could be ready to give birth to something new, and the other people are like, I think we should just stay here. This works for me. And it's like, well, we've been doing that, and we may have been doing that for quite a while, from the 3 to the 10. In between there would be this, like, as if these two represent the Seven of Cups. And the Seven of Cups can be getting to know people, to kind of figure out what kind of drives and motivates them, what they enjoy. And the one person's like, I'm ready to go on this new journey. And the other person's like, I'm still confused emotionally about what I want to give birth to. And then sometimes the other people are like, well, I don't want to, how long do we do a phase if it's like a romantic relationship of getting to know each other, right? And you could kind of feel like in the Seven of Cups that someone is trying to emotionally confuse you about the truth, is maybe feeling like someone kind of wants to indulge themselves in a relationship, but they don't really want to like take the relationship to the next level or something and to give birth to anything new. Let's just keep doing what we've been doing. And then sometimes, though, they do have other people in their life that they would have to become, because high vibe energy is about becoming more independent of your ego and your fear and your more immature, self-indulgent, prideful, worldly, materialistic, egoic, codependent nature, or other people in your life to be more independent. And some people are like, I like to create the illusion I'm willing to give birth to something new, and I'd like to be in a relationship with you, but I'm never going to detach. And it's kind of like, if it is like other people, it can be their friend group, their primary friend group, or their original family. That is my primary foundation. Would I like to be in a relationship with you also and move forward with you in a relationship? Yes, but I'm never going to. That foundation is the one I look to as my primary foundation. And the whole thing is, if those people in their life are the primary foundation in their life, if those people in their life at some future point in time say, I don't think you should keep moving forward with those people, I don't like them, or, whatever, well, then they would align with those people because they're unwilling. In the Chariot and the Queen of Cups, they're kind of, the shadow side and the Tower can represent that people are kind of tipped out of balance, and they are kind of more about themselves or the world or ego or image or things they indulge in or make their life about. And they're not emotionally balanced from a place of love, because shadowy kind of more relationships could be where, the Devil card looks like the Lover's card, but the people have chains and shackles on them. So it's kind of oppressive and limiting and confining and restrictive. And if we make our life more about ourself or our being indulged or immature nature or our codependent nature, and then we're codependent on the world and our ego and maybe other people in our life, they never get more emotionally balanced, motivated, and inspired by love to become independent of a friend or family group or being more about themselves. And since they think it's just and fair to be more about themselves or these other people or these things of the world that they make important, they were hoping you'd kind of turn your back on giving birth to something new and you would move forward with them. And the Chariot can represent that it looks victorious and successful in a lot of ways. And it would, if you're like a more balanced, loving, nurturing person and you're in a relationship with someone who's kind of more about themselves or ego or image or money and materialism, it kind of looks like they got it going on because they might, in their way, look victorious and successful. You're a loving, nurturing person who, in your own way, could look victorious and successful. And it looks like they kind of have the best of both worlds. That's kind of the black and the white horse on the Chariot. It's just that if they're not more independent of being more about themselves or the world or whatever it is they indulge in or make important in their life, that is kind of the third party in their life. And the third party you want in your life is truth and love and justice and fairness and acting with character and integrity. And they might harness all these energies and what they think is just and fair and what they're more driven and motivated by isn't really love. Like, that's good. It helps make them look victorious and successful in some way, or it's just great to be in a relationship with someone who's just and fair and loving. But if they're not that type of person, eventually you could see the truth of it, that you got in a more mismatched relationship where someone is more motivated with their loving nature. In our free will, we have the free will in our foundation of self to align with our more hopeful, believing, loving nature or our more shadowy nature. And the truth is, some people are more about themselves and the world, and they're not more balanced. Balanced energy is more like, yes, I want some of these things of the world too, and I have my own shadowy nature, but I've kind of tempered my more shadowy nature to align with and be inspired by my more loving nature. And I do maintain balance within myself to not indulge myself in my more immature, self-indulgent, manipulative, fearful, insecure, worldly nature. And I've learned to love myself, and I want some of these things of the world, but I also want justice and fairness and love and authentic, warm relationships and jobs and things that I enjoy. I mean, if I don't have to, sometimes we're in life situations where we do kind of have to indulge some people in their poor behavior, maybe until we gain some traits or skills or, to be able to be more balanced within ourselves or have more education or life experience or work experience to be able to move forward in life a little more independently, right? But, some people never want to get out. They don't want other people to be more balanced and love and believe in themselves and be more independent because they're not willing to be that. They have these things that manipulate them, and that they don't want to become. Some people also just want to be single, and they don't want to move forward in a more just and fair and loving relationship. Where do they want to be in relationships? Yes, but it's more for them to create an illusion like they're willing to bring that dream into reality, but it's really just trying to get people to get in a relationship with them, and then hoping that those people will put, because they love them, that those people will kind of give up their dreams and kind of settle for being in a relationship with someone who really doesn't want to really do a more emotionally balanced, authentic, loving relationship. I want it to be where you give up that dream because you don't want to maybe be single, and I might present myself as a loving, just, fair person who acts with character and integrity, but it's really more about me because they might have these fears and insecurities of trusting other people and believing in love. It's like, well, then I'm going to let you enjoy being in relationships with people who they're okay with that. But I want people who are willing to move together with me, who've worked through some of their fears and their insecurities and defensiveness to love, to do love. And if that's not you, then I'm sure there's other people in the world that have lessons to learn from people like you, and you can go get in a relationship with them. But I've already been in relationships with people who are like that. And high vibe energy too, that the high vibe people had to do this work within themselves. I can be in relationships with people I have love for. I have a dream. I want to move forward in this more emotionally balanced, loving way to get the justice I deserve. And I'm working with them cooperatively, being loving and encouraging and supportive. But then they seem to, so it's kind of like the Page of Wands and the Two of Wands are fire sign. The Page of Wands can represent all three of them: Sagittarius, Aries, and Leo. I particularly view the Two of Wands as Aries energy, and Aries energy is about the self. But high vibe Aries is an emperor, which is the counterpart to the empress. And to truly be an emperor in the world, and anyone can be an emperor because the masculine cards can represent how we present ourselves in the world and the action that we take in the world. But to truly be an emperor in your own life, in your kind of like kingdom of self, emotionally, you have to be an empress. You are who you say you are in the world. Other people can present themselves in the world as like being a leader, a boss, a just, a fair, a loving, emotionally balanced, stable, grounded person. But emotionally, they could be quite immature. But yet they want, so they can try to present themselves as someone that you should work here, you should be my friend, you should date me, you should marry me. And then as time goes by, you kind of realize they're not who they say they are. And it's kind of more just indulging themselves in relationships with people, hoping they can maybe get in a relationship with someone else who worked through their more immature, self-indulgent, bossy, controlling, consumed with themselves, to be more independent of that, to break free of it, to love themselves, believe in themselves, and then they're one of the loving, nurturing people in the world who offers love and encouragement to other people. But they didn't really want you to require justice and fairness. That's like another level. In tarot, we have the pages, and we got to go on these life experiences when we're younger. And then we have the knights, and we go through that life experience of learning lessons. And then we go through the kings and the queens and learn lessons. And then the emperor and the empress. And sometimes we've dealt with some people in our life who still have a lot of lessons to learn in life. And Sagittarius is about learning lessons in life. And they could want to be, again, in relationships with people who are loving and nurturing. And at one point in time, you could have played a lot. You could have been more in your Queen of Cups energy. That could have been the last lesson that you needed to learn. You could have done the Queen of Cups, the Queen of Swords, the Queen of Wands, and now the Queen of Cups was kind of the last lesson you needed to learn. To where in the Empress and Emperor energy, it's kind of having gone on all these life experiences from the time you were young and kind of experiencing these lessons, but they're always different. It's kind of like the next phase. Ever since we've been little, we've known immature people, bossy people, manipulative people, self-indulgent people, right? And we kind of learn that and experience that as a younger person. The thing is, people kind of get better at hiding the fact that they could still be more immature, bossy, controlling, and manipulative, right? So we learn that lesson with some people, and we could have become independent of some of those people. Then we go into our Knight stage and our King and Queen stage. And again, we're dealing with people like that because there's people like that in the world all the time. But again, it can be more subtle. We could get more involved relationships with people, that adds another tangle to it. It could have, we still have our codependency. We still have these things of the world that we want to manifest, and it's kind of always seeing what isn't aligned with my truth and where do I need to shed a layer of myself and an old way of maybe my emotionally loving nature being manipulated, or how, because I don't like being single and I'm a loving person, I really want to be in a relationship with someone, but I'm kind of maybe not waiting for other people who have learned some of the same lessons as me. And I kind of get in a relationship and with people who really are more immature, and that can kind of be us in shadowy energy thinking, well, if I'm loving and encouraging, people will choose love and they'll quit aligning with their more immature, shadowy ways of being and become independent of it. Well, how long do we want to keep investing our time, energy, and effort into people who maybe from the beginning we noticed that they really weren't very just or fair or stable or grounded or loving, but we could have been attracted to them. We were single, they were single, hoping for the best, but eventually it can get to be where, and Sagittarius, fire sign energy, can be where we were kind of a little more impulsive than listening to our more loving nature and knowing our worth and value and willing to be more independent. And we kind of gave, in our own Aries energy, we can kind of think we're the boss and, oh no, I can work with these people. Oh no, I'm sure they'll choose love. I'm sure they'll grow up. I'm sure they'll quit being bossy or controlling or immature or reckless or impulsive or whatever. When do we decide I'm done doing that? There might be people in my life who would like to be in relationship, but I maybe already been in a relationship and I was loving and encouraging and supportive, and they turn their back because it's free will. That's to see the truth. In people's free will, if they were more motivated to be motivated and inspired by love or be more independent, be less immature or manipulative or caught up in the world or caught up in themselves, they would be that type of person. And when am I going to see the truth and quit investing in people who show me that's not their truth? And I'm going to love myself and invest in and move forward with the people in my life who have shown me that's not their truth and that they have detached from that type of foundation and they are more aligned with their more hopeful, believing, loving nature, who are inspired to treat people and move forward with people in an emotionally balanced, just, and fair way because they're motivated and inspired by love and hold themselves to a higher standard than being in more immature energy, which we've all been in, whether you're a more loving, hopeful, and believing person or if people were more shadowy and immature or something, right? And as high vibe people offer love to the situation, we could have had different people in our life that we wished had moved forward with us in a more just and fair and loving way. But it's just seeing the truth that everybody was where they were at. You have to put in work and effort. You have to, from the 3 to the 5, you have to work through the 5 of Cups. You have to work through your own regrets of the past and your own pain and heartbreak and kind of love your own inner child nature to heal yourself, to become more independent of things that could have happened in your life and your family. And we've all had all these different people in our life that have had their life experiences and things that kind of manipulate them. And some of those people, you have to be inspired to even want to put in the work and effort to work through that past pain and heartbreak, or your fear, or your bossy nature, or your controlling nature, or your immature nature, to be a more just and fair and loving, nurturing, encouraging person. And some people didn't choose that. And we see the truth of it. Everybody's got free will. Those of you who've done it and you work through some of those issues within yourself, you know, it's kind of like this purging process, you know, and then you have to take over that role within yourself to give yourself the things that you wish other people would have given you, to love and believe in yourself and be that loving and encouraging and supportive person within yourself. Like, take over the role of being like your own best mother, father, coach voice in yourself. And that's you in your own fire sign energy, being inspired to become a good leader in your own life. Instead of still being sad that other people that you wish had been a good leader in your life, that they weren't, or people currently in your life don't want to do that. You know, some people don't want to make decisions. They want to, if they're, the decisions they make in their life, they want it to be able to be more just about them. In high vibe, you do love people. You want to be just and fair. So when you make decisions and those decisions are going to affect other people, you take those people into consideration. And you know, that's why loving people offer people love and encouragement. But I'm also going to require that it be just and fair, and that people work together with me in a just and fair and balanced and authentic and loving way. Because otherwise, we're not operating from the truth, and we're building an unstable foundation. And that's going to hurt both of us eventually. Because if our truth isn't the same, the other person's going to make decisions more out of the reasons why, things that manipulate them, instead of taking action more out of having hope and faith and belief and love, and believing in themselves and believing in their dreams, and making more maybe stable, grounded, self-aware, insightful, mature decisions in their life. And instead, this is air sign, this is water, this is fire, this is earth sign energy. And you could kind of look at the Ten of Pentacles as, you know, again, what you align with within yourself that you think will make you happy. And some people would have to get more grounded, have to quit living more from their mind or their emotional nature, in the sense that they could get caught up in illusion, get caught up in temptation, get caught up in their ego and their lust and their greed, or their illusions about their own self-importance or something, you know? And maybe just not very practical and grounded. Of course, those people that are like that say they are more motivated and inspired. And the way they view life is that it is about getting in relationships with people and working together with people to look victorious and successful. But again, it's like people who are more shadowy, trying to move forward to have what other people have in the world, but they're not seeing the truth. The people who really are in more emotionally balanced, loving relationships, it's not because they're using their emotions and their sexuality and their mind and their charm and their looks and their money and everything to try to create an illusion and manipulate people. They really are who they say they are. And some of the people that do try to control people and manipulate people, they can't maybe understand why some people who could have love for them become independent of them and are willing to let go of something that by worldly standards looks like they have what other people have in the world. And part of it is because, and why they go get in relationships with other people who maybe might be very loving, nurturing, just, fair, whatever. But some of these people are either full of themselves and they can't understand why anybody would go get in a relationship with anybody else other than them. But again, they could look and act like just like the other people. It's just that they want people to kind of move forward, making their life more about those things, more caught up in the illusion. The other people are offering a balance where we're going to have some stability and security and enjoy some maybe the finer things in life, but we're also going to be just and fair and authentic and loving and warm and encouraging. And the other people just create an illusion of being that type of person. It's not really the truth of who they are. They operate more from their more worldly view of life. And that is what drives and motivates them. It's more about these things of the world, and I might have a lot of these things of the world, but I don't really invest in my more emotionally intuitive, loving nature. So it can be more of a superficial, shallow relationship, but it looks like what other people have. But it's more, again, about looking like love, quacking like love, acting like love. But people do feel like people are emotionally manipulating them and tempting them more in their materialistic nature, their want for these things, their lust, their greed, their pride, their ego, their indulgent, if it's indulging in things. I want a more balanced life. I want a more deep, meaningful relationship. Over here, we talked about the Five of Cups. The Five of Cups is Scorpio, and I view the Queen of Cups as Scorpio. You're either haven't worked through some of your regrets in the past, and those things still manipulate you, so you could be defensive to love and turn your back on love. And it is more, let's indulge in the relationship. We'll look like we have what other people have, but it is more about using our emotions and our sexuality and all those things manipulatively. And it's not really a more deep, meaningful relationship. And there can always be people who, think sex is love, and I'm going to have sex with someone, so I'll have sex with you. But it's really, sometimes when people come in contact with someone who is someone who really, they can have a more deep, meaningful relationship, that can scare them because they had never planned, or that could be way out of their comfort zone, right? And I'm not used to that. And I could have fear of love because I get hurt doing love. So I've kind of decided, you know, I might go try to find another loving person, but I'm going to repeat this pattern where I tell myself, no, 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 I don't really love them. I'm going to enjoy it and indulge myself in it. And if I start to get to where I'm almost tempted to get out of my egoic defensive nature, to be inspired in my fire sign energy to be more bold and brave and authentic, well, that's then when they probably won't go there, because it really is a whole different philosophy of life. And for some people, they were never planning to do that. Were never planning to connect in with their more deep emotional nature, which is Scorpio energy. I've been hurt before. That's it. I'm done. From now on, I'm going to go indulge myself in the world. I'm not going to more emotionally invest in people. And if I start to feel like I'm getting out of it, and I'm going to turn my back on those people. Another way this could be interpreted is people can get in relationships with people. We all had our ideas. The Two of Wands is kind of like, I had a dream of how I thought my life was going to go. And I planned for it to go like this. And then they could get in relationship with other people, and we all are at different phases of life. And we all could have thought, yeah, I think I'm happy living my life like that too. Aren't we more about indulging ourselves in the world and maybe a little more codependent energy and wanting to be in a relationship? What more is there? I can't even imagine anything else. Well, then as time goes by and we get more life experience, then we could, in our fire sign energy, start to think that I kind of would like to be more independent of this way of viewing life. I was really caught up in it and I really liked it, and that was great. Just like every phase of life we went through, age 15, 18, 21, 25. And we all knew when we were young we were going to have to go through those phases of life. But then we probably kind of thought when I was an adult, well, this is the way I'm going to live my life. This is what life's about. We kind of don't even look at life differently till we're a little older. And then, we kind of look at life differently, and we kind of get inspired to maybe become more independent of this old way of looking at life and all these things that used to drive and motivate and inspire us. Do we want those people to move forward with us? Yes. But I could feel like those things kind of had us more tipped out of balance. We could have gotten in relationships and, we created a family. And of course, that takes a big chunk of your time. And that's your focus, and you enjoyed it and you loved it. But then when that phase of life is over, it's kind of like, what are we going to do next? And sometimes people are like, well, this phase of life continues just kind of different, but we pretty much keep our focus and our attention still maybe more on this more worldly view of life, where it is kind of still more about the ego or the image or the status or things we indulge in. And people could kind of feel like, I thought we were going to keep giving birth to new things. We might not be giving birth to children, but there's still new things we could give birth to, And just like we kind of grow and mature over time, relationships grow and mature over time. But some people were happy with it being more about these things of the world and maybe being a little more superficial and staying in the relationship for those reasons. And that's why they get in them and why they stay in them. And other people kind of want to take it to the next level, and they're not as caught up in the way they used to view life and things they used to indulge in. And they're kind of ready to move forward in life differently. And they kind of want to step out of this old comfort zone. And again, I think the loving people offer people love and encouragement to work through their own fears and insecurities of loving and believing in themselves to, and Sagittarius is kind of about going on this adventure in life, and there's so many things to learn and explore, and Scorpio is kind of exploring the mysteries of life emotionally, and I kind of want to go on the emotional roller coaster. It'll have highs, it'll have lows, and other people were like, I was never planning on doing that. I kind of like the merry-go-round of life, and I don't want to do the emotional roller coaster. And so sometimes you can be in relationships or friendships or a job for a really long time, and in a lot of ways it could have been victorious and successful and stable and grounded and inspiring in a lot of ways. But then we can get down to that last truth. Again, the 9s and the 10s can be about closing out a cycle. And some people kind of felt like, I've done this phase of life. I feel like I've learned everything I needed to learn here. And it's kind of like my more creative, inspired, intuitive, loving nature. Like, kind of like I want to shed an old layer of living life and way of viewing life. And that's where we can have different views. Sometimes people are like, yeah, I don't want to be married anymore and I just want to be single, you know? And now I want to go be maybe more of a player. Maybe now I might have more status or image or power or influence. And I think I might not want to be in a relationship with people who require me or are more independent. And maybe I liked this old phase of life where I was in a relationship with someone who was more codependent. Or I like this phase of life where I could be more immature or self-indulgent or more about myself. And now you want me to become independent of that and maybe just even getting the relationship more balanced. Because over time in a relationship, it can kind of start to drift off where it kind of gets a little more out of balance and where some people do get kind of more comfortable being indulged, kind of like they get spoiled. People could have had more, whereas maybe more about them. And now that we're at a different phase of life, now, I have some things I would maybe like to invest in. It's like, what? You have your own unique talent, skills, and interests that you would maybe be victorious in, that you would like to use those to give birth to something new. Well, I don't like that. I like this, and I want to keep doing this. And then we can just kind of realize that we have some differences with some people. And just like some of you have went through some things like that, some other people have went through it, and some people are just now going through it. And we all can have some people in our life that are still, have been in our life for a long time, that are still moving forward with us. And when we could have a little fear and insecurity of moving forward in life differently, those people offer us love and encouragement. And then we think about, moving forward in life a little differently and trusting that person has our best interest or those people, and we keep kind of facing our fears to keep moving forward. And then sometimes when they feel that way, we offer them the love and encouragement, right? And so some people kind of keep moving forward with us, but there can be different people in our life at different times. They're not ready to move forward in that way. Some of them maybe will never be ready to move forward in that way. And for some, they just need to go, they're wanting, you can only really move forward and close out and detach from an old cycle. The truth sets us free. You have to learn the lesson or the lessons, because in fire sign energy, it would be the 10 wands, which is Sagittarius energy. Some people haven't learned the lessons, and from the 1 wand to the 10 of wands is the 9 of wands, which getting over being wounded, getting over your defensiveness, getting over defending maybe your more immature, self-indulgent nature, and being inspired to, again, let go of an old way of living life that we could have loved, but it's time to kind of grow up and mature ourselves and become independent of an old way of living life, and maybe becoming independent of some people in our life that we might need to become independent of. And if we're in relationship and we have loving and encouraging people in our life, and that is aligned with our truth, we could be kind of tempted to almost not move forward in that. Because again, it kind of requires us to hold ourselves to a higher standard of balance and justice and fairness. And it's like, I don't know, if I were to go get in a relationship with someone else, maybe it would be more about me. Maybe I could be more like the boss. Maybe I wouldn't have gotten to this phase in a relationship where people require me to be more just and fair and balanced. And that's when you can kind of see the truth, that really isn't their truth to begin with. When that is your truth, it's just natural. to be just and fair and temper your more egoic nature and work together with people cooperatively because it makes you feel proud of yourself, and that's the truth of who you are. And again, some people just create the illusion that they're that type of person, and they're really not. And so then eventually sometimes people could be experiencing it now, other people already did, where they found out that wasn't the truth of those people. And then other times when people see you becoming more independent, wanting a more just and fair and balanced and authentic and more deep, meaningful relationship, they're like, nope, I don't want to do that. I'm going to do this. But it can be a tactic to try to manipulate the loving people to quit believing in themselves and believing in what they want to give birth to, and hoping that because they love them, that they'll come back and do the relationship the way they want. And some of the loving people can be, I can love you, but my also love for myself and wanting balance, because the Chariot talks about balance. I can love someone, but I'm not going to take action towards them if I have already spoken my truth in love. And the Wands can talk about communication. And again, out of loving myself, we kind of see how we want to move forward. And what we find, the Ten of Cups is kind of Pisces energy, also kind of about our dreams and our idea of the dream life and dream relationship. How they want to move forward and how I want to move forward is different. They kind of want it to either be more about them or more about these things, or whatever manipulates them, they want me to let it manipulate me. But those things don't manipulate me, and I don't think they're being just and fair. So I am going to keep loving myself, and I'm going to give birth to something new. And some of those people are just now kind of realizing, people can try to manipulate people for a long time, thinking you'll come back, you won't love and believe in yourself. And some of those people could just be realizing the truth now. We can distance ourselves from people and become independent of them, but emotionally, to really be more emotionally detached, where we're really ready to give birth to something new, that can take more time. And eventually people see the truth that, wow, they really are standing up for what they believe in. And they're harnessing this high vibe Aries, Gemini, Cancer, Scorpio, Libra, Taurus. And the other people were trying to harness those energies in a more shadowy way, presenting themselves like they harness it in high vibe, but they really don't. It's more about them, love of self or love of the world, and these things of the world or things they want to indulge in or something. And now they could be seeing the truth that you are happy being independent of them. And it's like, huh. And, they could wonder how you did that, because they, again, have all these things that kind of manipulate them. Our shadow nature are these things that manipulate us. And it could kind of make them wonder, why do I let these things manipulate me? Why don't I become independent of these things? Why don't I stand up for myself? Why don't I do some work to get more balanced within myself? Why don't I love myself enough to not let my ego or my shadow nature, my bossy nature, my self-defensive nature, my fearful nature, my codependent nature, my lustful, greedy nature, how long am I going to let that keep running my life? And for some, they'll let it keep running their life forever because that is their truth. And until they're willing to deal with the truth, they will keep repeating this pattern. And for some people, the truth is they don't want to become independent of being more about themselves or the world to align with their more loving nature. So they'll keep being more aligned because they love their more worldly nature. They think if they make their life about those things, those are the most important things, or just themselves, that's the most important thing. And I think high vibe people have loving, encouraging. We have the choice to align with our more hopeful, believing, loving nature, or we have the choice to be independent of that and align with indulging our more and being more emotionally manipulated by our more worldly, indulgent nature of self. But those are the seeds we're going to be planting. And we could want to stay in denial of the truth that, no, 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 I can have the things that those other people have. I just maybe need to get in a relationship with someone who's like that. Well, more high vibe people don't want to stay in relationships with other people who aren't more high vibe. And that can be something they don't want to see the truth of, because they think it's just and fair to indulge themselves. And so they think other people should think it's just and fair to indulge them. And other people aren't willing to. And everybody in relationship to other people, you could know people that you think are more kind of immature and self-indulgent. They in turn could know people in their life that they think are more immature and self-indulgent. And I think the more immature, self-indulgent people, there's, and just like when we've been in that energy and we didn't want to grow up and mature ourselves or be more just and fair, we have people who don't want to be in a relationship with us and they move forward with other friend groups and relationships. And some people are just presenting, they are shadowy, they're just trying to present themselves as more high vibe. No, look, I'm more mature, look, I've healed, look, I'm more just and fair, look. But some of you know that isn't the truth of who they are. They're just manipulating someone else, trying to create an illusion. And eventually those people will have to, if they see the truth, will have to decide if they're going to keep staying in a relationship with them or not. Okay, let's see. What's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Sagittarius energy? What is coming up for them that they might not see coming? They are ready to give birth to something new. They are moving forward in a balanced way, believing in themselves, believing in their dreams, investing their time and energy into the people in their life who treat them in a just and fair and authentic and loving way. And they are moving forward victoriously and successfully, which could be a tower moment for some people who thought they could manipulate you or control you and make you quit loving and believing in yourself. You're moving forward victoriously and successfully, and it could expose the truth about some people who tried to tell people, no, 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 don't align with those people. No, I'm the loving person. You should align with me. And people are seeing the truth because shadowy energy tries to confuse people about the truth. And some people in the world could be seeing the truth about who are the just and fair and stable and balanced and loving people, and who are the more immature, bossy, controlling, prideful, materialistic people. The Knight of Swords, the Queen of Wands, the King of Cups, the Five of Pentacles, the Five of Pentacles, and the Queen of Cups. Why? Because of the Two of Cups. The Knight of Swords is Gemini energy, about our free will. Because of love for yourself, you stood up for what you believed in. And you were inspired to love your own worldly nature that felt left out in the cold. You offered truth and love and inspiration to other people in your life to move forward with you. And you and some other people are moving forward in the energy of love. You are aligned in counterparts where you really are who you say you are. You're taking action in the world as a King of Pentacles because you are a high vibe Queen of Pentacles. And those are the people that are moving forward with you. And you're detaching from people in your life who wanted to present themselves as being like they were aligned with truth and love, but they weren't. They were defending their more egoic nature and presenting themselves as loving, and their more egoic nature would be their more defensive or immature nature, because they wanted to move forward with people who were loving, but only if you were willing to let them operate from a more shadowy Taurus philosophy of life, when you're aligned with a more high vibrational Taurus philosophy of life. And you said a house divided can't stand. We have to both be motivated and inspired by truth and love and justice and fairness. And that's not what you're motivated by. So I'm going to move forward with the people in the world who are. And you can move forward with whoever you want to move forward with. And I think as you're moving forward in that energy, other people who have went through similar life experiences see that you could go be, you have free will. You don't have to align with loving yourself and making good decisions in your life and maintaining balance within yourself and treating other people in a just and fair and loving way. You could be immature and self-indulgent and manipulative and all those things if you wanted to be. But you're not choosing to do that, and other people see the truth of it. And there's other people who don't want to be in relationships with people who aren't really in that energy and could see the truth about how they've been living their life or how the people they're in relationship with are. And they could be willing to stand up for themselves too and move forward with you in this way. But if you know some people who've been more prideful, egotistical, bossy, controlling, materialistic, odds are they're going to keep being that way. It could just be some other people that were kind of in more mismatched relationships that were loving and encouraging to people but didn't kind of want to see the truth that they've been kind of indulging some immature people. And those people, as long as you keep indulging me, I'll keep staying in a relationship with you. But nothing's ever going to change. And that's when those people, the fives, talk about change. The only person I can change is me. I can keep being defensive and being in my ego. I should be proud of myself. I offered truth and love to people. And if that's not their truth, then I'm going to wish them peace and I'm going to move on. Love myself enough to stand up for what I believe in, because they're standing up for what they believe in, and that's not my truth. And I'll go find the people in the world who are. Okay. What's coming up for the shadowy people that they might not see coming? The King of Swords. Why? Because of the Three of Swords and the Queen of Pentacles. Well, because the shadowy people, their truth is, before you get to the Three of Swords, which also is Libra energy that was up here in the Empress energy, you can be in two minds. You have your dualistic nature. What is my truth? The shadowy people made a free will choice. My truth is, in my Queen of Pentacles, Taurus philosophy of life, emotionally, I live in my Libra energy of what I think is just and fair, is I align with being more about myself or the world, or being kind of bossy and controlling in relationships. It's kind of my way or the highway. Or because I might have money, status, ego, image, whatever, I think there's other people that will want to be in a relationship with me. I don't have to do love, or I don't have to be just and fair, or I don't have to grow up, or I don't have to act with character and integrity. Yeah, they might find someone who's willing to keep staying in a relationship with them, being that way. It's just not, some other people aren't willing to. They might be a little heartbroken about that, but because they think they're the boss and they don't have to adhere to a higher truth, then if they say something's just and fair, It's just and fair. It's like, well, high vibe people adhere to a higher truth and justice, and this isn't just and fair. And they probably have some other people in their life who could have been married to them, wanted to marry them, have been an encouraging, loving, nurturing person in their life. They're also seeing the truth. Again, if we have people who never want to work through their own issues, don't want to move forward in a more authentic, emotionally balanced, just and fair and loving way, and become independent of being more about indulging themselves or being more about themselves, or keep letting things from their past keep manipulating them. Eventually, other people, we can only provide a loving and encouraging environment for people to do that work within themselves. We can't free them from those things. They have to do that. And if they don't want to do that, because they'd have to offer love to themselves, it's like, no, I think, some people are of the viewpoint that I don't have to do that work within myself. That's not my job. I get in relationships with people for them to play that role in my life. And it can be a very codependent energy where you're supposed to be the answer to my problems. But just like some people, their vice is drugs or alcohol, some people, that's not their vice. And their vice is I get in relationships. They are the answer to my problems. And then they're very codependent. And then they want you to be very codependent on them. And you are supposed to be the answer to their problems. And if you start to become more independent and want to change that type of relationship dynamic, they don't like it. And they go try to find someone else who's much more codependent like they are. If they're more about the world and ego and image is a driving factor, and they think that makes logical, practical sense, this is why we should get in a relationship, this is why we should stay in a relationship, this looks victorious and successful like we have what other people have, that can just be how they view life, and that's not how other people view life. I don't want to stay in a relationship with you because it makes logical, practical reasons, but I feel kind of heartbroken because you don't really more authentically invest in the relationship. Well, I need to protect myself. I've been hurt before, so I don't want to emotionally invest, male or female. And then other people don't want to stay in a relationship with them. And some loving and encouraging people who thought these people were more just and fair are kind of seeing the truth. You're not who I thought you were. I think you're just more about yourself, and you create this illusion in relationships, and you just indulge yourself in relationships with people who want to be in a loving relationship with you, but you just create the illusion you're willing to do that, but you just want to go be an immature player. And that's when other people see the truth, or you're keeping your options open or something, and I'm going to leave. And you can let someone else buy into the illusion of who you are, or let someone else invest in you. And I'm moving on. And those people will probably keep doing what they do because that's their truth. And some of those people do not want to see the truth that they're bossy or controlling or immature or manipulative or all these things that they do that they think are just and fair. And because of it, eventually what they don't see coming is they will either get in a relationship with someone who is kind of like they lack self-discipline. And it's kind of in a way like they're looking for someone to be like a parent to them. They could be looking for a parent figure in their life who indulges them like a parent would indulge an immature child. It's okay, pumpkin. I know. I love you. That might be what they think they're going to get, and some of them will get that because some other people are like, I'm willing to kind of indulge you, or they could decide they're willing to go indulge someone for these things of the world. But what they might get instead is someone who comes in their life who is more of a disciplinarian, but it'll have the status and the image and all that stuff. And even though they would rather not be in it because of the status and the ego and image, and it's kind of like if you weren't willing to discipline yourself, it's pretty hard to find a loving person who's going to keep putting up with you. And you either got to go indulge someone else who has those things of the world that you want, or they might get someone who has what they view as justice in the world, a certain status and image in the world, and that person is like an authoritarian figure in their life who might like to present themselves as being just and fair, but they're really not very loving, and they can be kind of hurtful and unkind. And for the people who want to be kind of more of a player, they could get in a relationship with someone else who also wants to be a player. And again, by worldly standards, it could look like they're living the dream in some way. And if that's how they want to live their life, but it's not a foundation based on love, it is more the ego or the image, and other people found it superficial and shallow, and other people could find them superficial and shallow and don't really want to hang out with them. You know? Anyway, high vibe people have learned lessons from a past pattern. They're giving birth to something new. They have people in their life that they're standing up and defending, have people in their life who are standing up and defending them. And the shadowy people are trying to hide that they're not living their life from a place of love. It's something else is the foundation for why they do what they do. So there you go, Sagittarius. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.